All right, and we're back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Table Flippin' Board Games. We just played uh, Ashes.
Ashes,
That's right, Rise of
colon,
the Phoenixborn,
Rise of the Phoenixborn.
and it was a marathon session. Apparently, I didn't even realize because I was so focused on the game. But in this
That was
episode, if
the
you
word.
guys are catching up on YouTube, our guest is Valia, who was very sneaky at the end of this game, I should say.
Got the
we
right cards at the right time.
it it really looked like I was gonna win,
It did.
but yeah,
I
that
gave up
was
hope.
no, it was good. Uh, Game Face, you want to give us a quick review of this game so that we can do a discussion?
Yeah, so it's very different, I think, in the sense that it utilizes both cards and dice. So you've got that kind of random, what kind of magic am I going to do? But then you're not
Mhm.
completely bound by the dice. You can manipulate them and change them into other things, and still do alter them if you don't like what you get. It just costs a little bit usually. And you have a limited deck. It's fixed, but although they do have a draft version of this game, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I think you can possibly get different kinds of units and different summon creatures, but still have the same Phoenixborn. Because I guess the Phoenixborn is not necessarily tied to the magic they come with.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah,
You can kind of
Okay.
swap them out.
yeah.
Hmm.
If you well, although it does look like she's kind of tied to leaf magic at some point.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
Uh,
but hers is just a general passive.
yeah, yeah. So there's a couple. And then you can also play with more than two players. But one of the problems, I've done that before. I've played with four players. It's a very long game. It like doubles the length of the game. So we probably would
I
have been
believe
playing
it.
for like 3 hours. Uh,
Yeah, that would have been long. Well,
yeah.
and it did take us a little bit to kind of get a hold of the rules. It's
Right.
Mhm.
uh, it's very interesting. It's like Magic in that it has stages for each turn, but
Right.
the stages it's interesting because you don't progress through the stages in the same order every time.
Hmm.
You can you can do your side action or your main action in either order, and depending
Hmm.
on what dice you have, then you can adjust those and like be able to unlock different cards in your hand, which allow you to do different things. It's
Right.
yeah.
And
I thought it was really cool though.
I love that you can start with whatever hand you want, which is really interesting.
That is, I mean, it's a really interesting way of getting rid of the initial
It is.
randomness, right? Of like, oh, well, you just started out this game way better.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
appreciated the versatility in the cards that they presented to you for the initial deck. Thinking back on it now, the fact that they did give you cards like Fear
Hmm.
Yeah.
and the incredibly misused Blood Puppets, um, it gives you it theoretically, if you read it properly, it gave you a really good idea of what the deck was supposed to sort of be aiming for.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it sort of was just, yeah, a really good introduction to the possibilities of that deck and how you could potentially counter the other deck given the cards they play.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
The as both of us were first time players of this game, and Game Face, you've played it before, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So having you guide us through this was really helpful. But
Absolutely.
even just because you know all the rules and knew how to mechanically make the game work, but for our own understanding, I definitely agree with you that having that initial hand of this is how your deck works, use this stuff,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
super helpful. Um,
Yeah, I love that they do that, and they even have like a video tutorial to show you how to play the game, so you don't have to just read the rule
oh,
booklet.
really?
Yeah,
That's
That's cool.
awesome.
so it's they've added a lot of beginner entry help because the learning curve is really steep for this.
Yeah. Valia, have you played Magic and Hearthstone before?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I think probably for us it was a little faster to get into the
Yeah,
game
yeah,
because we just kind of understood naturally that how the combat rules work and all
yeah.
that sort of stuff because it was
You're
very similar. Even stuff like First Strike was just had a different
yeah,
name.
yeah.
Just different
You're
wording, yeah.
Yeah,
you're
Absolutely.
veteran summoners.
yeah, pretty much. We are we are natural Phoenixborn.
Yeah,
Veteran card nerds.
yeah.
Yeah, uh, I was really impressed by the art in this game.
Hmm.
Um,
I agree with
I,
that.
we talked about that a little bit in the beginning. I forget the name of the artist, but that was
Fernanda, I'll look it up.
okay. Yeah, we should definitely call out the artist because it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, just like the Dead of Winter art, it's just so the characters are so interesting. Fernanda Suarez, they're so they have such a unique look,
Hmm.
and yeah, very realistic.
Well, I love that nearly every card has flavor text straight written on it, and it's really interesting. Like that's something I was kind of looking at as we played. Was just reading all of the various spells flavor text because it goes so well with the art. And I mean,
Yeah.
you look at the like even just the basic art for the Phoenixborn. Like Aridel's portrait is absolutely beautiful. The use of
Hmm.
color, like the blue and
Yeah.
the red contrast, is beautiful. You really
Mhm.
get a feel for what they're aiming for in the artwork, and
Mhm.
that's something that a lot of games are missing. But again, I'm looking at it now, and it you can tell it's by the same artist, and it's got the same sort of artistic style. But the feelings you get looking at Jess's card versus looking at Aridel's like completely nails the goal of the cards and the decks and the theme that they're looking for. And I have a lot of
Yeah.
respect for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now that I switched over to the right overlay, everyone can actually see what we were
Ooh.
talking about. But yeah, I completely agree. And it's is there game phase? Is there a story that these are based on, or are these it was the kind of lore for this just made up for this game? Do you
Yeah, I
know?
think they. Yeah, I think when they started this game, it started the lore of the game, and they've even got. There were all those heroes to pick from, and they've come out with a couple of expansion packs.
Hmm.
So one thing I like about this over Magic is you don't have to buy sets or booster packs, but they do have expansion packs that are smaller decks that you buy that usually have a hero plus summon cards. So every booster pack adds a hero in their deck um, of cards. Yeah, so there's some cool additions that are coming out, and I think they're kind of building the story as they're releasing more content.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of content and booster packs, as always, we have a copy of the game sitting behind Game Face. We do
Yes.
play on Tabletop Simulator so that we can bring the show to you and play together over the internet. But we suggest if you do get this game on Tabletop Simulator, then at least one of the people playing have a copy of the game.
Absolutely. Having that rule book next to you is infinitely helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
Or just having a game face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a game face.
Although I really feel bad about the blood puppets.
You know what?
Really.
That was a lesson learned for all of us,
That was
and
three of us who
Yeah.
frankly,
missed that. Just read your.
it's really interesting to think about after the fact, going, okay, the possibilities of this, because that would have filled up your board as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
the
true.
bonus of having the 8 creature
Yeah.
limit would have been negated.
Well, it even would have
Um,
been worse, right? Because you could have added more blood puppets.
yeah,
Like if I
and
have a lower creature limit, you can't add that many blood puppets.
what was the card called? Out of the Woods?
Oh, the one that deals damage based on the number?
Yeah, that's the only one that I think would potentially be
Uh,
unfortunate going with that
or
strategy,
Out
but
of the
at the same
Mist, yeah.
time,
But
out of the
Yeah.
it's
mist,
only
that's
to
what it was.
target unit, which is even good for you because if I deal
Mm.
damage to one of your
Yeah.
to one of the
And
dolls,
if
then
your deck is filled up with the blood puppets, like that's a lot of damage your hero's
I
taking, and
yeah, I
turn.
was looking at them and I didn't see
That's
a way that
absolute
I could
insanity.
actually deal with them. Like I have no way to kill my own
You'd
units.
have to use your own cards, and I mean, I guess that's where the benefit of your mists come in.
Mhm.
But at the
Oh,
same
can you
time, if you
attack
don't
your
have
own
the cards
cards?
to, one of the passives on the blood puppet,
Oh, make it so
Lets
you
you
if you
can't.
use
attack
one
them.
of the lower dies, you can deal 1 damage to itself.
Oh,
Oh.
I
But
see,
at
as
the
a
same
side action.
time,
Okay.
every time one of those died, I could activate one of my own
Right.
to.
And I got to use all my side actions to deal damage to the unit
Yeah,
and maintain
exactly.
those extra dice. Yeah,
That
that would
is
have been
really
completely different.
strong.
Yeah, that's
Side action
crazy
plus a
strong.
basic. Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
understanding. So, had I known that was a thing,
You
I
might have
feel
won
like that would have
harder.
made looking at shifting mist a little bit less intense
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
because blood puppet for Jessa seems like the shifting mist for Aradel.
Yeah.
I
Now
think
that
you're
I'm going
right.
back over it.
It's like which is an interesting way of maybe balancing it because it seems like there's a general strategy and kind of a flow to your deck, and then one card that is just broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm also kind of glad that we drew these two decks now too, just because yours is all about summons and having minions constantly sort of coming out and buffing them quickly, doing the damage, getting out.
mhm.
But had I played my deck correctly, that would have been a very interesting back and forth. Not that it wasn't already a very
Mhm.
interesting back and forth. I enjoyed it at least, but
Yeah, definitely.
the back and forth between minions and kind of it almost negates the usefulness of your shifting mist
Right, because
by
if I have
having
to
those
spend those
puppets.
things on the low end anyway, then it doesn't
And
matter
then
that
at the
they're high
same
value.
time, if you really wanted to just deal with it, you could get rid of like one puppet, maybe two,
Yeah.
or fill up the board with your lesser one ones as soon as
Oh, so
possible,
you couldn't summon
and then
one for
just
me.
buff them, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's
you'd
true.
have that dynamic going on too.
Hmm.
That's
Well, I think I know what this
that's something
means.
to
I
ponder.
think we just have to play it again in the future. And
Clearly,
Yeah.
I think it would probably last less than 2.5 hours once we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
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 Just as a
Absolutely.
one-on-one game. I really feel like a lot of the confusion, kind of just difficulty in getting started was, I mean, just
I
that,
think that was
right?
us more than the game
Yeah,
as
for
well.
sure.
So
Yeah, because
I
I felt
think
like at least a couple of my turns were, like I know the main action, side action done. That's it.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the other really like interesting dynamics for me is the fact that I can just sit here and be like, you know what? No, you have your turn. You take another
Yeah.
one. You take that
That's
time.
right.
Okay? And it's like worst case scenario, like I get to draw more cards. Best case scenario, you
Hmm.
keep doing what I want you to do. And you don't necessarily get that in other
Hmm.
card games similar to this.
No, you're
And
right,
part
because
of
if
that is the
you're,
die aspect.
yeah,
Like
Yeah.
having that sort of timer there. So you have to manage that
yeah.
resource really carefully. I think that is probably the largest learning curve.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Not even learning the deck so much as just figuring out how to best manage your resources.
Well,
And I
yeah, because
really
it's
appreciate that.
the way that, like, if you just pass and your opponent still wants to do something, then then the round continues. It makes it almost like you guys are taking one long simultaneous turn, if that makes sense. Because
Hmm.
in other card games, you have a mana pool and you got to play everything at once and maximize the amount of stuff you can play every turn. Whereas
Right.
this, it's you have it at the start and you just kind of filter things back and forth as to what you're playing in that one turn.
Hmm.
Which is, yeah, it's completely different. Like you said, it just adds a whole nother way of thinking about your resource pool.
I like the way they did the dice system as well. Because, I mean, you look at something like Magic, and, like, you've got your set number of land or water cards,
Hmm.
and that's there. That's set in stone. Once you play it, it's there. It stays that way.
Hmm.
Whereas with the dice system, um, well, it is again probably the hardest part to sort of pick up on and keep tabs on and get used to as far as card costs go and how you can lower the tier of dice. The fact that it shifts every round, but at the same time it's always going to be 10. That is really nice to me. I really enjoy the sort of strategic variant it throws in.
Hmm. Yeah, and especially because it's not. I mean, like you said, you're never going to get a zero. I think the game
Yeah,
would be completely different if you got a
Yeah,
zero
that's
on your
true.
dice.
and like there's a certain amount of like RNGs take the wheel with games like Magic to
Yeah.
get the land cards you need,
Yeah.
Hmm.
to get the island, the water. Like this, you have that already. It's
Hmm.
just how much can you do with it,
Hmm.
and
Right.
that's I think probably one of the biggest draws to me for this as a card game, um, versus other card games that I've played that are similar.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Game Face, any points to add? Anything we didn't cover?
No, you guys did really well. I can't think of. Yeah, and I've played the different decks. What's really awesome is I've seen Iredell before, but I have not seen Jessa. So it was really cool to see a different deck. Every one of the decks in here is constructed so well because the character that I played the last time was could summon one guy, but it cost a ton of magic to cast to summon him. But it was a gigantic beast, so you had to figure out
Hmm.
how do I deal with this one guy that has a ton of hit points, a ton of attack, how can I attack with him? How can I find a way through? Like, for example, all of your little
Oh, the little
1/1
minions.
minions.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's interesting. I
yeah,
tell you how she deals with it. Fear.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
that
That would
was lovely.
that guy would be weak against that for sure. Yeah.
That's funny.
But one thing that I do wish that they could help is trying to make this. I wish that it wasn't so much of a longer game to play with more than 2 players.
Hmm.
But that's about the only complaint.
Hmm.
Uh, Everything else is really interesting.
Yeah, I think it would be cool just to be able to have more people in,
Mm-hmm.
especially as you start getting into the. I assume you can pick who you attack and you
Right,
all that sort of
right.
thing. So you start getting into the like
Politics.
diplomacy aspect of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's like no, she's really strong. She needs to we need to team up.
yeah,
Backstab.
yeah,
She's about to lose. It's fine. Go target someone else.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, I think if we covered everything, I don't want to drag
Yeah,
this on too long because the game was pretty long.
it
But
was.
thank you everybody who was hanging out in chat. And if you're watching this on YouTube, definitely leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought of it. Valia, thank you very much for joining us here. And I guess I should actually make an announcement about the shows because we did start late and we have been gone for a couple weeks. Table Flippin's not going anywhere, but we are. We're going all over the place, and we have been for a while.
Hmm.
So we will be doing the show as much as we can and getting back to a regular uh, cadence as soon as possible. And I'll let you know when that is, because everything
Soon
is
TM.
soon TM. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But yeah, we're not going anywhere. We will, and with that, we will be back in the future with another episode,
definitely.
Yay.
uh, which again is undetermined, but that's how it goes.
We'll
Um,
get there. We'll
we'll
get
get
there.
there. We'll get
Yeah.
exactly. So, all right. Without further ado, Valia, thank you very much for joining us. Would
Thank
you
you
like
very
to
much for
flip the
having me.
table?
You know what? It would be my honor.
All right.
Feels good.
Nice.
And everybody.
Right.
Nice.